Gosnells, Cannington and Serpentine Jarrahdale. We're the voice of your community. 107.3 HFM.
Welcome to the Shire of Serpentine Jarrahdale, the fastest growing local government area in Western Australia. Located approximately 45 kilometres from the Perth CBD, Serpentine Jarrahdale consists of urban, peri-urban and rural communities set amongst some of the most stunning attractions in WA. By 2050, our Shire of 30,000 is expected to grow to a city of more than 130,000 people. We have a clear plan of action to provide the services and facilities needed for our growing community and to promote our region as an amazing place to live, work and play. There are lots of great things happening in the Shire of Serpentine Jarrahdale, but there is still more to do. Through partnerships, we can make these critical projects reality and provide social, environmental and economic benefits for our local community.
And no one better to talk to us and update us on what is happening in that part of the neighbourhood than, of course, Councillor Michelle Rich, who comes to us in her capacity as President for the Shire of Serpentine Jarrahdale. Joining us in the studio, I say a very good morning and welcome, Madam President.
Morning, James.
Great to have you in, Michelle.
Oh, it's fantastic to be here.
And a little bit of a dim morning weather-wise, but hey, it's winter and we've had a beautiful week of sunshine, haven't we?
Oh, look, yesterday was hot. Like for a winter's day, you kind of get all rugged up, leave home in the morning and then you're stripping down into T-shirts and that during the day. So, look, we can't complain.
I'm glad someone else agrees with me because I found it as the day progressed. It was beautiful though, beautiful in the sunshine.
Oh, look, love the sun, also love the rain.
Oh, yes.
Farmers need rain.
Absolutely. We certainly want to see those dams start to fill up. I know I had a on-the-spot report yesterday from down Wellington Dam that, as you'd expect, looking a bit dry and we want to see it all refill. No,
we want rain. Our farmers are having to feed their stock. So, we need that rain. And we get rain now with a little bit of that warmth. We get a bit of grass growing. Oh, yes. It's nice to see it all green up, isn't it? Nothing nicer. And to that extent, it would be great if you could just get that magic wand that works sometimes out and help solve the sort of telecommunications problem, which isn't a problem for the Shire to solve, but you're going to play your part, hopefully, in trying to remedy a pretty unfortunate sort of situation, isn't it? And it's a complex issue, telecommunications. And you're right, it's not a local government issue as such. It is an issue that is controlled, or it is an area that is controlled by the federal government. And I think there's a lot of people that actually don't understand who's in charge of what in some respects when it comes to these type of things.
Yeah.
But from a local government perspective, it is an issue that affects a broad range of our community. It affects our residential residents. It affects our kids that are trying to learn. It affects our business people and our small businesses. So it's not just something that affects one group of our community at any given time. And the issues that we are seeing across our Shire are very varied, but it is across all areas of the Shire. Now, some areas it could be landline phone systems that are affected. Other areas it's mobile reception and messaging that is affected. Other areas it's internet speed. And I know myself, doing a lot of council work during the day, I go home at night and try to get the invoicing done for my husband's business. Our accounting software is cloud-based. Now, my internet some nights will be very, very slow, but my provider says that, no, you have internet connection, but it is not enough to access the cloud and be able to do what I need to do. And I know I am not the only business in our area that's in that same predicament, which means that they can't function properly as a business. When we've got kids that are trying to study or do any kind of learning online, they're finding the same problems. We've got parts of Oakford that could be out for weeks at a time and not have phones or internet connection because something has gone wrong and it's been fixed. We've got Jarrahdale, which is in a situation where if the power goes down, which it can do and regularly does at times, they lose mobile coverage. Their tower that services that area has battery backup for an hour. So if their power goes out for any longer than that, they have absolutely no communications. Yeah. And as we've seen at the start of June, we, or the end of May, when it was, a couple of weeks ago, we had a major storm warning. We had a total fire ban, and Jarrahdale coped with a storm and a bushfire in the area with no telecommunications. That is unacceptable in this day and age for that to happen to any area. We've got places in Byford. I've got friends who live in the Glades in Byford. I can't get mobile reception inside their house. I actually have to walk outside their house to get mobile reception.
Story I've heard.
Down at the Shire offices, if we're trying to do anything on the phone, we're standing at the windows holding the phone up to window trying to get reception. We're 45 k's from the Perth GPO. This shouldn't be the way it is, given the amount of money that people are paying for the services in that area.
Is this, again, perhaps, as you say, it's a mix of reasons, but the provision from providers, is it infrastructure in a physical context that would perhaps solve a lot of these problems? We've been able to look at it that far. I know you've got a survey on foot at the moment.
We have.
But the reality is that that's going to help gather, one would imagine, just reinforcing everything you've just outlined.
And this is the thing, like, as a local government, as a Shire, we know that there's an issue there somewhere. I know that there has been an awful lot of people that have contacted Andrew Hastie as our federal member for Canning. And you talk to different people and some say that they don't have any issue with the provider they're with, and you talk to other people and they say we have a lot of issues with our provider. And it could be that we've grown so quickly that the infrastructure hasn't kept up. We don't know, and this is what we need to find out. So hence the survey for our community, and we need as many people to fill the survey in and give us as much detail to what their issues are, so that we can correlate all of that information and then try and find the ways to move forward and actually have these issues fixed. So, you know, it could be infrastructure in some areas. In other areas it might be something different, but we need to be able to find out exactly what it is, be able to trace it back and go, right, well, in this area this actual issue is an infrastructure issue. That means we can fix it, but at the moment we know there's issues, but we don't know what the reasons are.
And it's not, or is it limited to the mobile related services, as you sort of understand at this point?
And this is probably another part of what is made it so difficult in some instances to fix. It's not just mobile coverage. That is part of it, but it's also landlines that don't work properly. It's Wi-Fi inside people's houses, which is come through from their landlines, or the NBN that doesn't work properly, or doesn't provide the speed to enable them to use the internet service fully. So there is just such a broad range of issues that we are finding that people have, and that's why we want our community to fill the survey in, to provide us with as much information as possible, so that when we go back to our state and federal members, we can go, this is the information that we have been able to correlate from our community. This is what our community is telling us. And we've had conversations with Andrew Hastie as a local government over the last couple of months, and he's made it very clear he's quite willing and wants to work with us to find fixes to these.
One would certainly hope so, as the local federal member, and as you say, that's clearly something that needs to have him pick up the cudgel and run with. So it's advantageous for everybody to get on board.
And look, it's not just with the survey. It's not just the bad stuff that's happening. If you've got something positive, let us know, because that actually helps in filling in the picture as well. So, I'd love to see everybody in the Shire fill this survey in so that we can get a really good, broad cross-section of information, so that we can then move forward and have something done. And where things need to be fixed, get them fixed.
So that's the shout-out. We want everyone, regardless of the good, bad, the ugly, to go online. I presume the easiest way to get involved with this survey, Michelle?
Yeah, look, you can jump online on the Shire's website and fill it in online. If you're not comfortable with that, or if you don't have the ability to fill it in online and send it, you can go into the Shire office in the front office, and they do have hard copies that you can fill in and submit that way as well.
Excellent. So the important thing is to participate, because if the problem is going to be solved, it's going to need your input.
That's it. It needs the community input for us to be able to correlate the information, or collect the information to correlate it, and move forward and get something fixed.
Great stuff. My guest in the studio at the moment, the Shire President for Serpentine Jarrahdale, and I refer, of course, to Councillor Michelle Rich. Unfortunately, still a lot of sick people in the world, aren't there, with what's happening on a global sense. And Michelle, you got any comment on that in a perhaps in a personal sense?
Look, I just find it in this day and age extremely sad.
There's no easy solution, but it takes some tough leadership, and I think that, as is often the case with many challenges that come across the nation and in a global sense, some of our leaders really stand out as the questionable people they are.
It is a hard one, and yes, I think this has got to come from leadership, but that leadership, I think, has got to come from grassroots and community. People
have to want to see change, don't they, to drive it?
They do, and look, we're a multicultural world in this day and age. It's, we all get sick from the same things. You cut us, we all bleed red. So, skin colour and that shouldn't be something that comes into it.
We are all the same under the colour of our skin.
Oh,
no doubt about it. My guest in the studio, President for the Shire of Serpentine Jarrahdale, Michelle Rich, and a new innovation. Well, trying something different in terms of community involvement, as I understand it, Michelle. Something to do with gardens, and you've got a big green thumb.
We are running our inaugural SJ garden competition. SJ has some absolutely beautiful, magnificent gardens, both big and small.
Yes.
We have a number of community groups through the Shire that are active and involved in that gardening space. So it's about time we had something like this, and we're running them. Yeah,
why not? Coming to the right time of the year too, where we like to see things greening up, and it's great. I think that a lot more people are becoming aware of creating a sustainable native garden.
And you know what? I think it's probably one of the things that people don't know about our Shire is that we have a lot of nurseries in our area. We have a very large native nursery. We have one of the largest succulent and cactus nurseries in the Southern Hemisphere. And we have what I think one of the largest rose growing nurseries in WA. All located within SJ.
Interesting.
We have a very, very large and very, very good turf farm in SJ.
Yeah.
Provided all the turf for the new stadium. So, SJ is in that space. We have lots happening, and we have a lot of people that have a huge amount of pride in their own personal gardens, whether they be traditional cottage gardens, whether they're native gardens, or whether they're a mix or a blend. So there's lots in that space in SJ.
And given the variety, the mix of occupancy within the Shire, I'm glad to see that there's also been some thought given to that in terms of the various. I think you've got different categories, because if you're on property, if you're in a bit of a rural environment, then perhaps you should be viewed in a different way to someone who perhaps has got a very traditional garden in a more suburban location.
I think the key to running any kind of competition like this is to have your different categories. And when you look at how huge the diversity is with our property sizes and from our urban cells out into our rural areas, I think that's only a fair thing to do. We have a lot of people that have very, very small spaces, and they do what they can in their small space. We have other people that have got, very large properties that fill and do what they do in their space.
Of course.
So to put them against each other probably wouldn't be fair. So, you've got to measure apples with apples. So that's what we've done.
And it's the prestige, I would suggest, is this is not a financial windfall that's going to send you to the moon and back, but there is a nice little cash prize for each winner.
There is a cash prize for each winner, but I think more so than the cash prize is the prestige that comes with having your garden chosen as a winning establishment.
Absolutely.
In gardening spaces, I am aware that carries a huge amount of prestige. So.
Absolutely. A lot of collateral in having what it might be, the native garden of the Shire or the water-wise garden. What else have you got? You've got traditional gardens, and I think, as you said, there's a rural garden.
Yeah.
So there's one of 4 different opportunities there, and so it doesn't matter whether it's, as they say, big or small. You've got a chance. No,
and look, to be outside and to grow something, no matter how big or small, something that people tend to very lovingly to produce, whether it's an ornamental, whether it's a fruit tree, whether it's veggies or whatever, that connection to nature through gardening it's a very worthwhile hobby. And it's something that does connect us back to nature and to the land. And I think, mental health-wise, that's a really important thing as well.
I think there's a bit of Costa in all of us.
Oh, there is. My garden is flowerless at the moment because my cows seem to like flowers. I have one cow in particular that he will stand there, and if there is a flower in amongst thorns and prickles, he will wind his tongue all the way in there to pick out that flower.
Find a way.
Yes.
Dedication, which is what I like to hear. So that's some bloomingly good news. The Serpentine Jarrahdale Garden Competition. Go online, have a look at the Shire's website.
Go online, have a look on the Shire website. Entries close on Friday, the 3rd of September, so you have a fairly good time frame to get your nomination in.
Yep.
Jump in, have a go.
Get planting if you haven't already.
And do you know what? You'll meet heaps of new like-minded people through this kind of incentive as well. And like I said earlier, we do have a number of community groups that are active within the Shire that are working in this space. We've got the community garden in Byford. There's a community garden in Mundajon connected to the Uniting Church. There's also a gardening group that meets every Tuesday morning in Serpentine, and there's another group in Jarrahdale that's only just recently been set up with some like-minded people that have got together and said, hey, I'm interested in this, and my understanding is they all have Facebook pages, so jump on, have a look and a search, get in contact.
And just as a side from that, great to see the local church communities getting so involved with life during these past few months, and to that extent they've all sort of stepped up and got involved one way or the other, whether that be with food distribution, food support, and other similar activities. But the SJ Garden Competition, not to be missed, and let's see who gets bragging rights out of all of this in the months ahead. Turning to some other, well, certainly good news in the mind of many, because Serpentine Jarrahdale spread over such a vast physical distance. Roads, always a headache. I say that in the nicest possible way.
Roads. The number one complaint of the majority of our community, and rightly so. The Shire has worked extremely hard in the last couple of years to put in place maintenance programs and that for our roads. I think in the last 2 years we have had the largest amount of black spot funding we've ever seen come into the Shire for road upgrades to bring some of our roads up to a standard. And it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
You know, we're a large Shire by area, so we have a large volume of roads. And, you know, we find that a lot of our roads do need work. They were roads that were built a long time ago, and they weren't built to carry the volume and style and weight of traffic that they are carrying now.
And just if I can come back to your point about funding, this just doesn't fall out of the off the money tree. You've really got to, my words, beg, steal, and borrow to really be able to get this funding, often from obviously the federal purse. But the reality is, congratulations to staff in making all of this a reality.
There's black spot funding that comes from the federal government. When that funding comes through, they pay 100% of that fund for that project. There's also black spot funding that comes through at a state level. Now, when that comes through, they only pay a percentage. They don't pay the full amount, so the Shire actually has to have matching funding to go into that. We also get funding through every year through Main Roads Roads Group funding. And there's various different areas set up around the state for that. So you get put into a group. Now, the group that Serpentine Jarrahdale is in, we're also in with areas like Vic Park, Canning, Gosnells, Armidale. And when they look at dividing that funding out for those areas, it is done on statistical issues. So obviously a road in the Canning area that carries so many different vehicles a day is going to gain funding quicker and easier than what a road in SJ that doesn't have that same volume of traffic. It's not apples with apples when it comes to this type of funding for an area like SJ. You know, we are the fastest growing local government in the state, which brings its own set of issues with that. But when we're having to compete with other areas that have a larger volume of traffic and their road networks are different, that it does create some issues for us, and it does make it difficult for us to work through. But the engineering team we've got at the moment, that's led by our Director of Engineering, is extremely good, and they have done a phenomenal amount of work in the last 2 years to bring in the funding that they have, and the relationship that they've been able to build with Main Roads to be able to sit and show and give the reasons of why we need what we need and why we need it in the areas we need it. So, you know, that work has been absolutely phenomenal that they've managed to achieve.
And there's just under $1 million sort of in play at the moment as far as a couple of priority projects are concerned.
You know, we are doing some road widening work. One of those areas is the Card Up Siding Road, where there is quite a lot of work being done there, and we're also doing work on Wright Road, in between Mundijong and Serpentine to a certain part of that road. You know, now that road widening involves actually, you know, going through fixing the sub-base along the shoulders and widening that area out. So in some instances that does mean that there is tree removal as well, because over time trees have been allowed to grow into the road reserve or too close, and you know, unfortunately we do have to remove some trees. But you know, to be able to provide a safe road network for our community, you know, that's one of the things that has to where we can, we try to retain as many trees as we possibly can, but sometimes some trees do need to go.
Inevitability, but again, taking those decisions with great care and diligence, I'm sure. And talking about trees and that type of thing, a lot of people have spent summer months cleaning up and tidying up around the place, and they've ended up with piles of this and that. And so now we've moved into that sort of traditional properties having their little burn-offs and bonfires and everything else happening.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, my property's one of those too. You know, we're building bonfire piles so that when the weather's right and the conditions are right, we can burn off what's been collected over the last couple of months type thing.
Now, to this point in time, there's been the usual bans and limitations on the ability to do that. However, we're at that time of the calendar year, and also, you know, in terms of it's winter now, so from June 1.
And look, just because it's winter doesn't mean to say that you are going to necessarily be able to burn exactly whenever you want. You know, we had a total fire ban there towards the end of May. Last year, we actually had a total fire ban in June, in winter. You know, it's unheard of. But our rain is not coming in as early as what it once did, which means our seasons are drier. So, and our fire brigades do an absolutely fantastic job in protecting and helping our community. We do have a bushfire ready group which is active within the Shire. So anybody that's new to the area or wants some advice on, you know, how to get their property bushfire ready and what they need to clean up and how they need to do that and when they need to do that, those people, they're volunteers, but they are always available and are always willing to help our community be as prepared as they possibly can. And being prepared for bushfire season is an ongoing thing. You know, you can't just do it in the month just before the summer starts. It's an ongoing yearly thing that you go through, and you do bits and pieces all the way through. But, you know, we are in the open burning season now. So, you know, people, you know, get out, do a little bit every weekend, get things cleaned up. If you've got piles of branches and all that kind of stuff, now is the time to start getting them ready, get them burnt off so that they're not going to create an issue for you in the coming bushfire season. And, you know, everybody does their little bit. We're in a much better place if we do get a fire.
Absolutely, and just a reminder, if you have a look at the Shire's website in regards to the fire restrictions or whatever else, that be mindful of what goes on to the bonfire, please.
Yes, it's not for burning household rubbish and those type of things. But look, our Shire website is a wealth of information and knowledge. So if you jump on, have a flick around through the different parts of the website, and you will find an absolute wealth of information to be able to carry you forward and do what you need to do.
And other really good news that everybody is really over the moon about is being able to perhaps enjoy life, feel that things are starting to get back to normal slowly but surely. But I think the significant part of that is the ability to get down to the park, to the playground, let the kids run amok.
I know, our parks are opening today. And do you know what? It seems like a lifetime ago now that all of this kind of stuff was shut. You know, we've got our parks have been able to reopen today. Our gyms have been able to reopen. We've got our small restaurants and coffee shops and that being able to open more significantly than what they have been over the last, you know, 8 or 9 weeks. So, you know, everybody in our community, get out, go to the park. Please remember your social distancing in that, and to keep everybody safe still. And I think it's quite telling that they've said that this year we haven't really had that flu peak. You know, whether that's to everybody paying extra attention to their hygiene and washing their hands or not, I hope it is. And if it is, continue it.
Well,
because it's good for us.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's good for all of us. You know, take the kids to the park. Go for a walk with your neighbour or friend and go and sit in the park. Our parks are beautiful. You know, and the other thing, support our local businesses.
Yes.
Now that they have been able to open up more for our communities, go and have a coffee and a piece of cake, or take the wife or the hubby out for a quick dinner. Just support our local businesses, because they support us when they need to. We need to support them now too.
Well and truly, and I want to see everybody down at the, not literally, but almost, down at the Bark Park. A wonderful little location. Get the four-legged furry friends down there as well. But things are slowly but surely coming back to normal. But yes, so many wonderful things there, and of course being able to get down to the library, although it's great with the access and the availability of all of the material online. It's still...
Look, our library in particular is more than just a library with books. It is one of those little community social hubs for members of our community that get out and they can come in and have a chat. They can change their books out, but it's that social interaction in places like our library that are so important to so many members of our community. So people say, well, it's a library. Well, it's more than a library. It is so much more than a library.
In the same way, let's not forget the empathy and the compassion that we've shown to those in the community that perhaps don't have strong family support around them. Don't suddenly start thinking, because things are returning to the way it used to be. Hopefully, there are a lot of other lessons of humanity that have come out of this that will stay with us and they enrich the community that we're proud to live in Serpentine, Jarrahdale.
Yeah, look, and I think that has actually shone through very much for us at the Shire during the COVID-19 event. Mm-hmm. We've put quite a few different bits and pieces in place to help our community through this, like our Helping Hands incentive and that.
Yeah.
Now, the uptake to all of those incentives that we've put in place has not been huge. For us, that tells us that our community is actually looking after each other, which is fantastic. We are there as a bit of a backstop. If people do need that help, by all means contact us, because we are there to help. But the fact that the uptake through the incentives that we've put out, whether they be support for our small businesses or whether they are the helping hands in the community sense, and that we have had people access them, but it hasn't been huge. So, that's very, very heartening for us to know that our community is actually looking after one another. And it's a fantastic feeling and knowledge to know that our community is still very much, I suppose, that older style community where they do look after each other. They do go out of their way to make sure their neighbours or their friends or family are okay. And that's a great feeling.
Absolutely, those core values that make life enjoyable. Just a final word of acknowledgement and the support that the Shire is giving in terms of the Peel Chamber of Commerce and Industry's virtual tourism forum that's happening. I know that again, being such a critical part of, again, the small business element within the Peel region, SJ, so important, and it's great to see that opportunity is there for people to get involved with, and my favourite F word, almost free.
Yes, it is free. It is an online forum, so jump on, register your interest, and hopefully we see lots and lots of people there on the 10th.
Absolutely, and there'll be some very experienced participants. Tracy Savinas Prosser from Destination Perth will be participating, as well as the Tourism Partnership Manager from Tourism WA, Kim Francesconi, will also be participating. That is a great opportunity because we know how important the growing area of tourism is within the Shire.
And look, it is a fantastic opportunity for people to jump on, have a listen, ask questions, and we have seen, as the different phases of lifting the restrictions for the COVID-19 have been put in place, the amount of people that we are getting out that are just coming out for a drive to get out of the house and going for a walk in the bush, or any number of the walking trails that we have in the area. We are very well located for people from Perth to be able to come out and spend a day doing that kind of thing, which means, there's support for our local businesses and our local little boutique tourism areas that we have in the Shire. So all the support that we can give those type of businesses in the tourism area is fantastic.
Yep. So if you are in the trade, then this is happening this coming Wednesday from about 9 through until 10. A great little virtual forum, so go and check it out on, I think you'll find this.
Even if you're not involved in tourism yet, even if you only have an idea in the back of your mind, jump on, have a listen, ask some questions.
Yes, it's a great opportunity to pick the brains of others, and those who perhaps, like yourself, aren't sure what the next step might be for them, or the step that they're taking. Could be breaking new ground, and you could get some great ideas from what will prove to be, I'm sure, a very, very interesting tourism forum for local business within the Shire. So thumbs up to the Peel Chamber of Commerce for fronting it up, and also to the Shire for supporting it. Well done.
Yeah, no, look, it should be a fantastic opportunity.
Michelle, always great to have you in, and whilst there's good news, there's always that little bumpy road, metaphorically, within the Shire, but thanks for coming in and joining us this morning, and who knows what the world will be doing when we next speak.
Look, things have changed so dramatically over the last few months, but it is always a pleasure to come in here and talk about our community in our neighbourhood. Love SJ, love all our little communities that we have throughout SJ, and always more than happy to talk about what's happening and what we're doing and what our community's doing and what we can see coming into the area in the future.
And there's always so much to see and do if you are in the Shire. Get the brag bag out, and get family and friends to come down and see just exactly what there is to showcase. And life is great within Serpentine, Jarrahdale. And Michelle, again, thank you very much in your capacity as Shire President. Thank you for joining us in the neighbourhood. Always a pleasure to have you in.
Thank you, James.